as for the first time ever, a car went through the sound barrier. Owner Richard Noble heard the news from the official timekeeper.
Provisional Mach number on that run was 1.007.
Right, got it.
When the car is driven subsonically, it compresses the air in front of it. As it approaches 750 miles an hour, a wall or barrier of compressed air forms in front of it. At the speed of sound, the air parts suddenly, causing a shock wave and a sonic boom. A second shock wave comes from the tail as the air closes after the car has passed. Thrust's success was well timed. 50 years ago to the day, this aircraft, piloted by Chuck Yeager, dropped from the belly of a B-29 to break the sound barrier in an aircraft for the first time. Yeager became a folk hero, the aircraft a museum piece. That led 20 years ago to Concorde and supersonic passenger travel. But spectacular as it is, Thrust's success is unlikely to lead to much.
In terms of ground transport, it's much more difficult to see what the immediate relevance of this work can be. It's very difficult to see cars travelling at a Mach number of 1 around the M25.
Useful or not, driver Andy Green now goes into the history books.
Unlike what I've read in a lot of the newspapers, the car doesn't leap into the air and explode. I was delighted to find out. And it is possible to drive supersonic, and we did it.
But they haven't finished yet. The next goal, to take the land speed record officially above the speed of sound. James Wilkinson, BBC News.
Cambridgeshire social services have been severely criticised in a report commissioned after the death of Ricky Neve. The 6-year-old was found strangled just months after being put on the county's at-risk register. The report says there are still deep concerns about the county's ability to protect vulnerable children.
For the second time this year, Cambridgeshire social services have been found seriously wanting. Like the first report, this government investigation was triggered by the tragic death of Ricky Neve, found strangled near his home 3 years ago. At the time of his death, he was on the council's at-risk register. His mother, Ruth, was cleared of his murder, but jailed for 7 years after admitting child cruelty. Today's report from the Social Services Inspectorate is a catalogue of management failure in child protection. It found there was no clear direction from senior managers to social workers. Many records were unreadable. There was a serious failure to assess the risks to children. And in some cases, parents were able to take the initiative from social workers not trained in how to deal with hostile families.
When Ricky Neve died, Cambridgeshire were required to produce a review of that tragic case and to learn the lessons. My concern is that 3 years later, they have not yet fully learnt the lessons.
The council accepted the report's 40 recommendations for improvement, admitting that even now, some children at risk aren't getting the protection they need.
We will be concentrating our attentions on those children and rapidly finding out which children perhaps are at risk, working with other agencies such as the police and the health service.
Members of Ricky Neve's family who were at the news conference demanded that councillors should resign and senior staff who'd since left the council be called back to answer for their actions.
And you listen to what I'm telling you. No more excuses. We want them back and we want them to explain what went wrong. We're fed up with it. Lies, lies, lies.
This is one of the most damning reports to land at the door of any social services department. Tomorrow, councillors and officers will be called to the Department of Health and told by ministers to implement the recommendations without delay. To make sure they do, there'll be a further inspection next spring. John Andrew, BBC News, Cambridge.
Unions and employers have been telling the Low Pay Commission what they think the minimum wage should be. The TUC wants £4 an hour, but the CBI has warned that a significant number of jobs will be lost if it's more than £3.20 an hour.
After years of controversy, the Low Pay Commission finally gets down to business. The politics behind it, detailed economic evidence before it. A fifth of all British workers would be affected if the union pitch is accepted.
Well, we believe that if we set the minimum wage as high as £4, one would have a significant impact on inflation and in particular on employment. We think that one would probably destroy of the region of 150,000 to 200,000 jobs.
On £4, no one should lose their jobs. Employers should be able to cope with that. They may have to get a bit more efficient, they may have to get a bit better. but we're not taking too seriously some of the bleats that are coming from the employer community.
There's been much union argument before they plumped for £4. Before that, they wanted half the earnings of the average male manual worker, £4.42. Upgraded for inflation to £4.61. All way above the CBI's figure for a wage that doesn't cost jobs, £3.20. 40% of those paid less than £4 an hour are in catering, hotels and shops. Employers in the entertainment industry are watching particularly closely.
Well, we're very concerned because for every 10 pence that the wage rate increases from the norm at Blackpool Pleasure Beach at the moment of £3.55, it's going to cost us £145,000 a season. And that means we're going to have to lose between 15 and 20 hourly paid jobs.
Textiles is also difficult, with very low pay but fierce competition from third world companies. Unions say their bid is realistic to ease poverty without harming business. Business wants time to implement the rate, softening any effects. Stephen Evans, BBC News.
The government has launched a new fireworks safety campaign aimed at preventing the large number of injuries caused each year by people throwing fireworks or letting them off in confined spaces. At the same time, they're also banning anyone under 18 from buying fireworks and blocking the sale of the largest display fireworks to the public. Our Consumer Affairs correspondent, Nicola Carslaw, reports.
This bonfire night, throw a party, throw a wobbly, but don't throw fireworks. Oh.
Part of the government's television advertising campaign, targeting the sort of hooligans who throw fireworks around and whose mindless actions last year put 380 people in hospital. And posters representing the many who've been disfigured on bonfire night are also featured in the drive to cut down on all firework casualties. Then from tomorrow, new laws come in to make sure untrained people can't get hold of the most lethal fireworks.
There are £5,000 fines for letting off fireworks in the street in a hooligan-like manner, and we're trying to make sure that, as far as possible, all consumers and retailers are aware of these new laws and that they will be enforced rigorously.
The fireworks industry, while endorsing the government action, estimates the new restrictions will cost it at least £2 million. But safety campaigners maintain the laws are inadequate.
Millions of families out there will be grievously disappointed that bangers, which caused 273 accidents, mainly to children last year, will be still available and on sale until December this year. And that the most dangerous fireworks, aerial shells, which killed 2 people last year, will be available to anybody who cares to call themselves a firework display operator.
The laws on fireworks in the UK are now among the toughest in the world and will clearly be costly for the £55 million firework industry. The hope is that with good policing of the problem, even the most determined will be deterred from getting their hands on a banned product. Nicola Carslaw, BBC News, at the Department of Trade and Industry.